So
That's
this is the part of the show that we start the clock. We've got 15 minutes to find a high probability, low risk FX trade. So the clock has now started, Mr. Demi. Your weekly challenge shall begin.
okay. So let's bring in EURCAD, guys. So that's the one that's been requested, and we can break this down. We'll start with our weekly time frame and figure out where there might be a turning point. So as we've been saying, EURCAD has been dropping quite a bit for a few weeks. But actually, if you look at the big picture, as I was saying earlier in the show, you could probably see that we're kind of just ranging. So we'll see if we can just play around with this a little bit and figure out a plan. So let's see if there's any obvious places we can find some dynamic resistance. So I'm just going to have a little look here. We don't really want to be going through the bodies, only spikes. So that looks okay. Nice 1, 2, 3 touch, and even a fourth touch there. So that's pretty decent. So we can play around with this line and see if it will also align with other parts of the chart. So here's a nice 1, 2 touch, and then we'll put this up here as well. Okay, and okay. And by the way, it doesn't need to be perfect because this is a weekly time frame. This is just to give us something to kind of look at. So I like this low point. It touches this low point as well. So we're kind of getting to a potential turning point. But you know, you've got this kind of section here. If we go through, it could be lower as well. And this is where we want to build confluence up. Okay, so let's plug in some fibs here as well and see where the fibs come in, and we'll let's do this one. Okay, so we got quite interesting. We've got a much lower. This is the 200, which is possible because it could be an overextension. So we could be heading as low as this. Let me just explore that 136.65 because the market has been there before. So if this is like an overextension and it goes down here, it would be absolutely fine. You know, if this, I mean, put it this way, if this market went down here, it wouldn't be like, you know, completely unusual, right? You can see the market has been down there before and it would still potentially stay in this range and head back up. So certainly that could happen. Right now we've got a little bit of support, so we can also plug in you know, where our support levels are, our current support levels are coming in. So I don't want to use the indicator just yet. I'm just gonna look at current price action myself. So you can see that the market has recently acted as support here and a bit of support there. And we're just kind of in that space right now. Now, here's the thing, the picture that I see. So I think short term we get a bounce, but I'm very open to the idea that we could potentially do that. Okay, because I think once we clear these levels, then we'd. Sorry, Gavin, were you saying something?
No, mate.
Oh, sorry. yeah, so once we've cleared these kind of levels here, then potentially there is nothing really holding this up to it going down here. But because there is support here, I would definitely start to consider anywhere from where we are to a little bit lower as a potential short-term opportunity to buy. Okay, so that's what we can look for short-term. But I would definitely be very, very wary of the market potentially going down here once we clear these levels. Okay, so let's go and have a little look and see if there's anything that will give us a potential buy signal. So we'll go into the lower time frame. I'm just going to bring in EURCAD daily and we'll have a look and see what it looks like from a daily point of view. Okay. Right, let's have a look here. Okay. So sometimes it's just a little bit clearer. So that looks even better on this time frame. So if I just extend this out, where does that take us? Right where we are now. So this is an interesting one. Have we gone through it? Let's have a look. Have we closed below that? It looks like we have. It looks like we have. So that was a good support area. And I'm just going to plug in my down fibs right here. Yeah, that's interesting. That's pretty bearish, guys, because right here was a real perfect buy zone. But as you saw, you may have seen in the news that I brought up, the CAD employment numbers were strong and it strengthened basically the CAD, and it's now gone through this. And normally if the market doesn't pull back into our minimum expected fib retracement, which is right here, we would expect this market to overextend and to head potentially down to the 200. Having looked at all of this, I've got to say, I'm not seeing the high probability bounce right now. We could get it short term, even here. I think you could take a very short-term trade, and we'll go and see and explore that. But I would be looking at this as a day trade because we've got a little bit of support. You can see that I've just drawn in nice support, a bit like a channel support. But for me to kind of turn a bit more bullish on this, what I would probably want to see is, so let's say we find a short-term trade here somewhere and we buy it. I'd be looking to take a profit like on the day. For me to turn bullish, I would want to see a close back above here and then a bounce here. And then we might be talking about something like that. Okay, that would be a possibility. But right now, I would be very cautious as to taking a longer term position in EURCAD long. I think there's a lot of bearish signals, but it has had a deep drop. And it is at a support point. So we might be able to find a trade that we can take today. Let's go down to the lower time frame. So we'll go to the 4-hour time frame right now. And you can kind of see, like, even the way it's been dropping, it's very, very parabolic. It's almost like it's like the play would be almost like a mean reversion play. It's like, you know, that is not sustainable the way it's dropping. It's just gets squeezing. Look at that price there. It's just squeezing. It's like it can't carry on doing that. So we'll have a little look at the 4-hour time frame Fibonacci as well and see if we're kind of coming into a turning point anywhere soon. Let's have a little look at what's happened. So the market has, what's it done? It has done a shallow pullback, didn't quite reach the 38. But it has gone beyond this target, which is a good sign. And it's created a D point. I like that it's actually very close to this overextension here. The other thing you got to remember, it's a bank holiday today, so I don't think you're going to get, you may just get the bounce just because of that. So it's like there's not going to be too much breakouts, and it's a Monday as well. So Mondays don't tend to be breakout days, so it could definitely attract a bounce somewhere here. If we want to kind of see if we can, that's very close to hitting that. I love this area here, the 200, and it's very, very close to it. So it might be worth considering that as a bounce zone. Let's see what else we got here, guys. We're going to add in the daily trading range as well, just to see where so I'm going to try something here. So we have that as a possible dynamic support here. And then we have that. So you can see the market is reacting quite nicely onto these lines here. So yeah, it's got a little bit of work to get back through these levels here. So again, this could be a place where the market holds and maybe makes an attempt to go lower. I think the play that we could play could be something to do with the daily trading range. Let's kind of have a look to see how well the daily trading range has been holding. So especially more recently. So what you want to see here on the green bar is it holding or is it going through it on the whole? So here's a little example where it went through it. Most of the time it's holding. That takes you down to there. Okay. So that is 145.52. If you wanted to play a very conservative buy, you would adjust the multiple a little bit here. So we'll make this like 1.2. And you could put a buy order somewhere here. You could even adjust it even a little bit more, but I think that's okay. So if you want to be conservative, you may want to put a buy order somewhere around here, 143.36, and literally that should be a day trade, in my opinion. Or at least, if you're not going to make it a day trade, you should take partial profit, in my opinion, because the long term isn't clear. It looks bearish at the moment, that we could be heading to sort of that 136 zone, but I don't think it's going to do it in a straight line. I think you could get a bounce. So I'm going to do one more thing here, okay, and then we'll finalize this. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring in the hourly chart, because I just want to see what the hourly chart is projecting. That really looks like such tight price action. It's just, look at the like that just doesn't look sustainable. But it's, jumping in front of a train. It's, hold on. If you just kind of connect these points here, it's actually broken through this barrier of support, and it just this is now acting as resistance, and it's right there as resistance. The conservative play would be to kind of wait for it to be over here, but so if you're quite conservative, you'd want to see maybe a break above and then look to buy it on a pullback potentially. Or we're going to try and scalp it a little bit lower. Let's do one more thing, guys. I'm just going to add in the down fibs to see if there's any projections. And again, it looks like this is the projection, guys, but this is a super shallow pullback, which basically tends to push this lower towards the overextension, which comes in at 143.14. I wouldn't buy it here personally, even though I can see why it might go up. I think that the argument for is the fact that it's a bank holiday. So those traders that have been trading it may not be there, so they may not be shorting it now. But for me, it's too high risk. You're buying into resistance here. If you're going to buy this, you know, for me, it'd be looking lower. Equally, would I sell it? No, because you're running straight into support right now. So maybe short term, but it's not my style. My style is I want to understand the bigger time frame, and I want to go with the bigger time frame. Right now, you're kind of in the middle. You're at a pivot point on the weekly time frame. So I think the only place to try and look for value. So if you were going to buy, say, so here is 143.30. And then the 127 fade here is 142.96, and the hourly one is 143.10. For me, I would be looking really between there and there if you're going to take a short-term buy. Otherwise, I'd kind of wait and let the market show us a little bit more. So that would be like a short-term buy zone. Let's say this dropped here and you bought it and you got that bounce. You'd either cash it all in, or you take, say, 50% of your profits and then put in a touch stop and look to leave it just in case the market does reverse. I'd even be thinking maybe take 75% of it and then leave 25% in just in case it reverses.
Cool. So that's a really good breakdown. So just to clarify, on the demiometer of low risk, high probability, what 10 being the highest probability, where would you set this trade at?
If you're buying in this zone today, and I stress today because the DTR is pointing there today. Tomorrow, I don't know where it's going to be pointing. With the backdrop that I've explained on the higher time frame and the backdrop of the fact that we have a bank holiday, so the market's going to be a little bit less liquid, so you're more likely to get a bounce. In that zone, I'd say there's a sort of 70 to 80% chance that the market's going to bounce there and bounce higher, and you should be able to make a profit from it if you manage the trade correctly.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for clarifying that. So that's this week's FX trade in 15 minutes, just a little bit over, but we went through all the major timeframes and gave you a really clear and thorough understanding. If you're not sure how that all works, then go through it again, guys. Go through it again. And if you are totally brand new to FX trading, or even if you've done it for a while and you're not sure how he's seeing what he's seeing, he's done it for years. He's worked in the big banks. He's worked on the trading floors of some of the biggest hedge funds. So we'll put a link in for some free training as well. It's a webinar presentation. You get a ton of value. And then if you want to further your education, the opportunity is there for you with quite a few special offers and perks. But you can, nonetheless, saying that, you can get a ton of free value just by going through the content. So I think that would help you to understand what this man has just done. Now, we've had a question come in. I think this has been covered by your breakdown, but let's just go through it again anyway. Hi, Andy.